Vegan and plant-based businesses are on the rise. People looking for jobs within companies that are vegan and plant-based is on the rise. Associations are on the rise, internships, and consulting gigs. Hi, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show, and today I am really excited to bring to you Paul and Bonnie, who are the founders of Passion Placement, where they match job seekers with companies looking for people within the plant-based vegan industry. Stick around because you're in for a great treat as you learn more about Passion Placement and how you too can find a position within an organization that is a great fit for your aligned values. Well, I am super excited today to be interviewing two people who are doing what a lot of people have thought about doing, which is live their passion through their career. And by the way, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And today I'm interviewing two people who started a virtual placement agency, if you will. And I'll let them explain in more detail what it is, but it's actually aligned with people who are in the vegan plant-based industry. And Bonnie and Paul a few years ago came up with this great idea by merging their talents together that they could fully serve the plant-based vegan industry and help companies that are looking for people with aligned values to find jobs within organizations. So with that, Bonnie and Paul, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So I'm curious, Bonnie, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the whole vegan lifestyle. And then we'll move into Paul, and then we'll talk about Passion Placement.
Okay. So I grew up on a small family farm, mostly a vegetable farm. But we did have chickens and horses and goats and cats, of course. But I became very connected to those animals that were on the farm. And that's where I, found my empathy for them and my, connection to animals and my need to protect them, the animals that I had there, as well as all the other animals in the world. As a teenager, my mother served us steak tips for dinner, and she had done this countless times before, but this night was different. And I cut into that steak tip and it just screamed cow to me, and I couldn't eat it. I never ate any meat ever again from that point on. Then years later, somebody gave me an iPod, and I discovered podcasts. And I discovered Colleen Patrick Goudreau's Vegetarian Food for Thought podcast. And I listened to Motherhood and Maternal Instincts. And in that, she taught me all about what's happening in the dairy and egg industries. And I was horrified and felt like, how did I not know this? I felt so stupid. And I went vegan immediately as soon as I listened to that. So I have been vegan since then.
And when was that?
That was early 2000s.
Okay, so you've been vegan for a while. And Paul, is it the same thing with you? Have you been vegan for a while, or did you start out plant-based? What was your transition into this lifestyle?
Well, I came from a completely different place. I was previously married, and Sharon was an RN. Mm-hmm. She nurse educator. Mm-hmm. She contracted cancer and spent about 6 years, battling various forms of cancer. And finally, it became terminal lung cancer. And, which was in itself a very interesting life experience. But more than that, she became obsessed with this idea of what are you going to eat if I'm not around? She loved to be the cook. She'd taken on that role. She had a lot of Italian influence in her background. And I had to find a way to kind of shift that. In the meantime, I went and had a physical. I was 70 pounds overweight, taking statins for high cholesterol and high blood pressure meds, just sort of a low dose precautionary set of meds. And a friend told me about Joel Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live. We just in a conversation, we're just having chit-chatting, and he was telling me he saw this program and he was so impressed, and he's going to, use some of this with his kids. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I got to go get this book. So I did, and it happened to be vegan. I didn't really, he didn't really promote it as vegan. He's really comes from the diabetes perspective, diabetes treatment. So with that in mind, it did promise that you could lose a lot of weight in a relatively short period of time. And so that's what drew me in, was the weight loss. I figured that was something on the, that I really needed to deal with. Little did I know that was going to solve the eating issue as well, because I basically went off to a conference, took the book, came back, told Sharon, she had taught me, so far she had taught me how to cook rice. So I got one thing down. I still do well at that, but basically I came in and said, you don't have to worry about this anymore. And she was just kind of like, what are you doing? She totally didn't understand what I was eating or why. She wasn't eating anything at that point except for protein drinks and things. And so that's how it really started. And after that time period passed, it was just the weight I'd lost more than the weight that was expected. And I felt great. I went back to the doctor, dropped all the meds. And, from that moment on, it was like, why would I consider eating meat or anything else? She really introduced me to a lot of the inner workings of what goes on in terms of factory farming. I was aware of it, but I didn't take it personal. And with that, that was the evolution. So we make an interesting combination in that we both come to the equation from separate sides of the picture, if you will, but to the same place, which I think makes it interesting.
And when did you go plant-based?
2013, February.
Okay, so about 8 years now for you. And for me, I'm a baby vegan. I've been 2.5 years doing this. And I find the further I go into it, the more passionate I become. And that's why I love the name of your company, Passion Placement. And Bonnie, I know your background is CPA. And you've got a financial background. And then Paul, you've got a background in marketing and sales, and nice combination. So where in the world did you come up with this idea for passion placement? And tell us what passion placement is exactly for people who don't understand the connection between a company and a job seeker.
So we created passion placement. It was really born out of my frustration for wanting to change careers. Not necessarily my career, but my company that I work for, and find a mission-aligned company as a financial executive, get into helping animals with my skills. So I literally had to write down, the companies that I thought were mission-aligned with what my goals, and check their website every week and, see what they had for jobs. And it was like, looking for a needle in a haystack, hoping good timing. And so I just felt like there has to be a better way. And if I was having this struggle, others had to be having this struggle as well. So, I have this idea of having, making it easier for everybody to be able to make that transition, so that we can build this tribe of people that are passionate about plant-based and getting animals out of the equation, out of the supply chain. And so that was really the basis for why we decided to do this. And with all of the new innovative plant-based companies coming up, that was certainly helpful, because it felt like there was enough companies out there that would value these passionate people.
Right.
And the Gen Zs out there. So there's that group of people are really looking to make a difference. That's what's driving them, not so much making money, but making a difference. And, I think I have to believe the planet has something to do with it, because
absolutely.
Keep it on this way, we're not going to have one.
So would you consider yourself headhunters, or are you more like matchmakers, or, what's the premise behind a company that would be listed on your site? And before we go further, where can people find all this information? What's your web address?
Yeah, passionplacement.com.
Okay, passionplacement.com.
Yep.
We'll put that in the show notes. And, I've been on that site, and you have listings for volunteer work. You have listings for part-time. You have listings for contract work, for 1099s, for full-time employment. I'm absolutely in awe of what you've been able to accomplish. And it's not been that long since your company has been around. When did you start the company?
Well, we've been working on it really
We've been working on it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And we actually went live in August.
Okay. Right in the middle of a pandemic, you went live.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Which it seems like the timing is perfect for that, because so much is virtual nowadays, and more the trends are that this is such a huge emerging market. And, I actually have a list here and I was thinking of you, I need to send this to you. It's the Plant-Based Guide to Expo West. And, in here, I've got a list of probably 500 companies that are plant-based companies. So, tell folks, first of all, how do companies get listed on your site, and how would they be able to filter through the information to find a position that would be a good match for them?
So I guess the best way to do that is to sort of, separate the fact there are two, we have two clients, if you will. We have the companies, which really feed the site, and that's the bread and butter for the site. And then, of course, we have the candidates, which we're probably more connected to the candidates, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And I'll go into that in a minute, but just to touch on it, really, the employers would come to the site, set up a profile page. We're mission focused first. That's an important consideration. So unlike any other website, platform, job board, we consider ourselves an employment platform, not a job board.
Okay.
The core of what we do is post jobs, help employers post their jobs, and bring them to a pool of like-minded, dedicated, and passionate people.
But those employers need to be mission driven in
we curate the site. We're not for everybody. We're not one size fits all like an Indeed or these much larger organizations. We're very highly focused. We do curate. We are selective, and employers need to be either dedicated to plant-based and taking animals out of the equation, something along that line, or tied into some other area that's plant-based towards saving the planet, which might be materials. It could be instead of using plastic, using mycelium, things of that nature. That really the technology is all there today, and why we still do things the way we do it defies logic.
I see we have a visitor behind us. And what is our visitor's name back there?
That's Lily.
Lily, what I love about what I do with this podcast show is if animals show up, it's like they have a place at the table for sure, without a doubt. And, our cat thinks that the table is hers, but it's like, okay, we got to get that clear. But, so Lily has joined us. And now when a company, and you have all different sizes of companies. I've been exploring some of the companies on your site, and Clara Foods, for example, I've been digging deep into what they're doing. Phenomenal company. And they just got a $40 million round of funding, and they're expanding. And so they actually have several jobs listed. And then there's a link to, if you don't see the job you want, tell us what you want. And how progressive is that? I mean, in the old way of doing things, it's like, here's the job, you have to fit into the box. The new way of doing business is, let's create this together. Yes. So what would a company do as far as like, okay, they come to your site and they definitely want to post some jobs. So what's the next step?
we're set up as in a membership format, and so we have I think 6 different memberships from free. You can post a job for a week and do it for free. Anybody can do that. On up to 3 months full service for a very, very low cost. Mm-hmm. The goal here is more based on volume than it is on, we're trying to get a core of volume. Yet you mentioned headhunters earlier. There is a need for executives as well. So mm-hmm. people. What's different here is we're not focused on a particular industry. We're focused on many industries. We're focused on a particular mission. So people coming from a CEO, when you're starting a company, we have so many startups right now, mm-hmm. You have those needs as well. So we're partnering at this point with headhunters, if you will, recruiters who specialize, who have those specialized areas and contacts in them for those higher end positions. But like I said, we're covering the whole gamut. So we've been talking with a restaurant that is looking at expanding on the East Coast in terms of setting up fast food, vegan foods, and that's going on the West Coast as well. We have a story on the blog about that, and so there's a lot of activity going there. But there's that need to get a group of people fairly quickly, and we can step in there. And so, in addition to allowing companies a place to post their jobs, tell their story. Mm-hmm. As a candidate, I can go there and I can select companies, and I can go through the various companies and check their purpose and check what they have. And I'm in the same space. I'm not going off into all this and searching and monkeying around. I can literally go by the icons of who these service providers are, which is kind of a neat thing.
Absolutely. And it's amazing with technology today, you can really dig deep into the truth of what a company is doing, regardless of what they say. It's like, okay, let's just pull a few layers over here.
You say that, and isn't it interesting that today we see all these big companies, Kellogg's and even JBS, the biggest meat slaughter company in the world, is coming out with a plant-based product.
Right.
What was the one you mentioned?
Jimmy Dean.
Jimmy Dean, Mr. Cowboy Boots.
Yes, Mr. Cowboy Boots. Well, and that's interesting because that actually leads into the question I have for you, Bonnie. I know that you help people if they have questions about their resume and all of that. You can give some coaching and guidance on that. Is that a service that your organization offers?
Yes. And we do a lot of that. That's probably most of the coaching that I've been doing is helping people that when they are going to transition into this industry, they really need to think about what they want. What's the mission, vision, and values of the company they want? What does the position look like? Mm-hmm. They need to define those things and then get that information into their resume. They can't just take their resume and update it for what they've done in the past 2 years.
Right.
And use that. It really needs to be tailored to this future position.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. With the companies that list, you want to make sure that they are aligned with the mission that you have. And so there's some checks and balances for that. For somebody who is moving into this industry for their job. Let's say that they've been vegan for 5, 6, 7 years, and they really want to immerse themselves within this industry. How would they position their lifestyle choices and their lifestyle commitment with the way that they approach a company that's listed on your site?
So I think the best way to communicate that is to be sincere about it with the company, communicating that on LinkedIn. A company is going to go and look at what you're doing on LinkedIn,
right,
and Facebook. And so if you're connected with people that are in the plant-based world, then they see that's sincere, that you really are plant-based and that's something that really matters to you. So that's one way of communicating that. Another way is to put it on the resume there's a couple places on the resume and in the cover letter. There's a summary section on the resume, and that needs to say who you are, what you do, how you do it, and what drives you. what you're looking for in your next position. It has to speak to the employer, directly. And that's what's going to differentiate them from the other people applying for that job.
Right.
And I always recommend that they also do that in their cover letter, because it's more free form. You can be a little less formal in the cover letter and say exactly what you're looking for and why your skills answer this job.
So would they just lead with that in the cover letter? Say, let's start by saying I'm vegan. Would that be appropriate, or how would they weave that in?
I think it's really important to look at the offering, look at the posting, and really try to get into the head of the company that's offering the job. If you really want to have success, you really need to go deep. You can't send the same resume to numerous people and expect good results from that. That's the lazy way out. You really need to get in there and check out the company a little bit. Try to get their tone, try to get their language. What is it that's stimulating you to take action, right? And then sort of weave that into the language. You don't have a lot of space in a summary, so the wording really needs to be well thought out. Right. And you just can't pass over it too quickly and too easily. And that's where coaching can be very, very helpful in terms of, which is something that Bonnie's very good at. Helping to pull those pieces together and really tell the story and make the integration. You're transferring historical skills into a future, with another company. So there's this transition that needs to be evident there, which explains the value you bring to this new employer.
Right. Well, some people think that this is a kind of a phase or a trend and it's going to fall by the wayside. What's your take on where the industry is going?
You want me to take that, or?
I don't think it's a phase. I'll let you take it, but I don't think it's a phase. I think dairy is thankfully going to be gone in the not too distant future.
Hopefully so. Yes. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, there's just no reason for it.
Right.
There's so much investment money going into these businesses. It's clear that if we want to have a planet 10 years from now, we need to do something. We need to change.
Absolutely.
And so maybe that's going to be what changes and makes this not a fad, but it can't be. It just can't be a fad.
Absolutely.
Take into account also, you look at companies like Aero Farms and Indigo Ag, who are really working with plants themselves. How to create more abundance and healthier, larger plants, farming. Getting into how to use the soil in a way that's really sustainable and manageable. Then you have companies like, I think this has come up with some of your things in the past. The Material Innovation Group there, that's talking about innovation initiative that are coming up with, they're working on actual physical materials that are plant-based. And here again, there's no need. You could produce materials like leather without using leather, and cork and pineapple and variety of other mediums. So that's expanding. Even more exciting than that is, the business of fermentation, microbial fermentation and mycelium, which is what we're going to see exploding, I think, in the next year or two. It's already going in big ways. Companies like Perfect Day, they can produce milk like milk, better than milk. And they're just coming out into the mix, and they're using this fermentation process is how they do that. So now all of a sudden people can enjoy milk that are lactose intolerant, no issue. So there's so many exciting things going on there. I think the most exciting, and this speaks to what you're doing as well, is it's really the biggest game changer of all is in food. This suddenly food is becoming much more tasty. That's vegan. Some people worry. They say, well, what's this list of chemicals that are in it. Well, if you had to break down the chemical background of what's in a piece of meat, you'd find something quite similar. It's not required. But you know, there's you know, the fact that we eat every day, we make choices every day. We are empowered like we've never been before, and this speaks to the internet and the fact that we have this communication the way we are today. Information about you know fermentation's been around since the Egyptians started making beer, probably before that. I mean, you know, one form of it. And so here we are today, and that technology is there. Perfect day. They didn't invent anything.
Right, right.
They just went and looked it up and said, "Hey, why isn't anybody doing this?"
Absolutely.
And, you know, and bam, you know, and that's what's happening now, and it's such an exciting period of time. And if we, you know, the one thing that we need some glue to pull all this together, and everybody can now, you know, through this platform, there's the opportunity to contribute to each other's effort. Because the more they use it, the better the resource, the easier it is to find people who are truly passionate about what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
That's an exciting place, you know, and that's where we're trying to get to here. That's what this is really all about.
Well, and one thing that I love about this, if you will, a community, regardless of where people are putting their efforts. I spoke with a woman who's working on food insecurities and food deserts and for people of color. And that's her focus. And I said, anything I can do to help you get the word out, I'm there. And one of the things I've really noticed is people are very giving and very helpful because there's not the usual competition that we're used to in traditional business, because this is about a higher purpose that we all have, which is saving the planet, people's health, and definitely the animals. I mean, there's no doubt that we can have a cruelty-free meal and no animal has to be impacted. When you were talking about the technology and the fermentation, that's what I found interesting about Clara Foods, and they're on your site, that they are creating an animal-based egg with no animal-based product in it. It's like mind-blowing what they're doing. And so what I did is I went and I listened to some podcast shows that the CEO was on. I looked at their website. I did some research, and it didn't take long to get their story. And that's what I really encourage people to do with your platform. Go in there, look at the different jobs, because you have well over 600 or 700 jobs currently listed, and it's changing all the time. That's the nice thing. It's very fluid. So what would you say if somebody were, they're ready to move forward and take the risk of going, you know, leaving the environment they're in because it just doesn't fit for them, and they want to go into the vegan plant-based industries? Let's start with what you see the biggest mistake that people make when they're looking for jobs. What would you say? You know, off the top of my head, I would say they throw something on the wall and hope it sticks rather than really fine-tuning it.
Yes.
Right. I think they neglect their resume. I think they neglect to actually step back and think about what they want in that next position, give it some deep thought, write down notes, and know exactly what you want in a company, write down their mission, vision, and values, and find those companies with that mission, vision, and values. Write down the position that's going to make you happy, and go and find that match. That's what they need to do. When they find that match, they have to follow up with a phenomenal resume that speaks to why they can do this job and why they are better than somebody else. So their passion needs to be in there. It has to come through. It has to be sincere.
One interesting thing, we were talking about this earlier today. You know, a lot of people, they're surprisingly, unless you're a basketball star or somebody who really knows what your talent is, so many people don't really know what they're good at. And they don't really dig deep into that. They don't look at it. And that's an important piece of finding yourself is what brings you joy, what excites you really, and digging into that a little bit. And I'll just throw this out as a little snippet of encourage people. You know, go to your friends, throw it out on Facebook if you want to, you know, put it out there. What is it that you see in me that you think I'm really good at?
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Start
people that
there.
You mentor.
and out of that, it's amazing what you can learn. You start looking at some of these things, and you may have a great talent. Listening can be an incredible skill. And it's something that you can really build on. If you're good at that, then you can think of, how can I apply this to something else that's important to me?
Absolutely. Well, that's what's exciting about how the industry is going. And I want to remind people, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And I'm talking with Bonnie and Paul from Passion Placement. I encourage you, go to passionplacement.com. passionplacement.com. Check out the jobs they have there. If you're a job seeker, if you're a company, an association, an organization, and you're looking for great talent that is aligned with your mission, go ahead and become a member. There's all different levels. There's 6 different levels that people can join in on, all the way from free for a week. See, I was paying attention. Free for a week on up to, you can get 3-month contracts and multiple jobs. And I know you have several companies that have, some of them have dozens of jobs listed. There's a lot of opportunity within this industry. And what I'm curious about is, where do you see the greatest growth within this industry?
In jobs, I would say we're seeing a lot of remote jobs.
Okay.
And I think that's
not going to go away.
It's very helpful because it's thanks to COVID in a great part, but it's allowing people to be able to work for a company that if they've always wanted to work for Mercy for Animals, but that's just too far away. Now they can, because Mercy for Animals is remote. So I think that's opening doors. But as far as industries, I guess you took a look at the industries that you thought were growing.
Well, it's really I would say that every industry is being impacted by what's going on. From pharma, the drug makers to on down the line. What's going on in medicine is amazing today. The things that can be accomplished and done. Look at the COVID crisis. In less than a year, they've got a vaccine that's out and effective. That would have been a dream not even 5 years ago or so.
Absolutely.
Now, food is the way in, though. I was just going to say, food is the way in because of the fact that everybody has power of choice over food, and so I think that's what's impacting and driving the industry the most, and it's impacting every industry,
right?
As it moves along, because if we don't need as much animal product, there will be less produced.
Right.
And so it's slowly, changing the entire paradigm, which is really exciting. Why are we doing this the way that it's been done for so long? Well, we really haven't. We've been separated as a society from marketing and advertising, which has controlled our lives in the past, our parents' lives, where you had a few TV stations and you had limited access to information.
Right.
It's everywhere now, and so people are taking the power of choice and making decisions, and it's the collectiveness of that's so amazing.
Well, and I'm curious. Let's say that somebody wants to be coached by either one or the other or both of you. What would the process be for them to contact you so that they could set up an initial consultation and then move into some coaching?
Okay, so on our website, there's a coaching section on our website. So they could just email me, and I'm happy to communicate directly and schedule a Zoom meeting. But we also have links to our Calendly accounts, and we've tried to allow for different time zones. So there's different times on a few different days that we do our coaching. But if they want to email me, if those times don't work, I can certainly fit in another time.
Excellent.
That's the easiest way to.
And what are the types of coaching that you do? You work with them on their resume. What about interview skills, things of that nature?
Interview skills. I help them define what it is that they are good at and why. I help them with, making sure their LinkedIn is scary.
She has a great tail, by the way.
Nice tail. I have to say that was a nice tail.
She knows how pretty she is. Work with them on, just defining who they are, dressing them up to go to an employer.
Okay.
Provide a lot of it is giving them the encouragement and the confidence to do what they need to do. In small businesses, some people come to us and they didn't know it at the time. Remember Vicky, she didn't know it at the time. She's trying to fit herself into a job, and she was a born entrepreneur.
Yeah, she's a comedian, right?
She's great,
and just a fabulous personality. And she was trying so hard to fit herself into a corporate type of a position. It was we just said, wait a minute, why are you doing this?
Right.
And she just stopped and said, I don't know. And by the end of the call, she was already designing this. She had this vision that she was, that she had been sitting on. And
Wow.
she just said, I just needed to know that it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It can be that simple.
Yeah. In that 20 minutes, we helped her create a company. And so
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is welcome to call. I mean, we have a free call in, to talk about it and discuss people's needs or wants, desires. Everyone's welcome to call, and that's free. That initial call. And Bonnie comes from more of the corporate background.
Mm-hmm.
She, her background's very in line, with executives and
mentoring and
business, and to the point of even dealing with the SEC and all kinds of complicated financial areas. And me, I'm the entrepreneur that let's just go out and do it type. And
I get it.
and so that too makes for an interesting mix. So we really kind of have both sides of that covered, and we're happy to jump on. Sometimes both skills are useful, depending on what's going on.
Well, it seems like you make a great team. And I'm curious, do you work only with people in the U.S. or is it international, your reach?
International.
Okay. So if somebody's in the UK, which the vegan community in the UK and Australia, huge. It's like we're a little behind the eight ball here in the US with what they're doing.
So
I would add. Oh, she said Singapore.
It's Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would add that we're primarily in the U.S. and Canada, and venturing forth through remote jobs. We're everywhere. So we have remote jobs as far as Singapore, and
we can consult with anybody anywhere.
Absolutely, we can, and we're fully intending to go fully throughout. Within the next year or so.
Okay.
We're making plans for that now, and
I'm going to put you on the spot now. Now I'm really going to get tough with you. Okay, here it goes. But seriously, moving forward, what are your plans for helping to raise awareness around the opportunities within the vegan plant-based industry? Do you have any kind of special training plan? Do you have any big events planned? What's your take on all that?
Well, we think one of the biggest things we can do is to roll this out, doing a big event, doing a career fair of sorts, virtual. And so employers can come with their jobs. They can present themselves, to the candidates that are attending. And there can be little, interview rooms. Software these days is great for that sort of thing.
It's really something.
So we did a similar career fair with Bentley College, Bentley University now, and it worked out very well. We were able to help people. We were helping people on the resume side, but then there was a whole
Can you imagine?
There was a whole career fair going on. So that's what we would really like, is to have all of our mission aligned companies at this career fair, and each one of them speaking and telling the candidates what they're all about, and having the candidates interview with them,
breakout rooms and whatnot if they want to connect with these companies individually.
Right. So,
and probably before that, we're looking at doing some smaller scale educational programs, and maybe have a keynote around the topic, and then break out into a couple of different
wonderful
options. And so those are, that planning is still pretty early on, but we see it as a great way to really expand in a more rapid way.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely, there's a lot there. Bonnie mentioned the software, the technology really has come a long way. But there, you have to start there, choosing the right one, where you can have a convention floor and have these breakout rooms where people can actually go one-on-one for an interview if they even wanted to have it at that level. So
you could do speed dating.
Yeah,
well, I think that's a great idea. I think you ought to definitely move forward with that. And with your site, I know what's really exciting is that when somebody puts in a job alert, and again, it could be a part-time position, it could be a volunteer position, it could be a consulting position, and it can be a full-time position. It can be remote, it can be in person. There's so much flexibility with what you're doing. And what I think is great, because I actually have registered on your site, and I get alerts as there's something that might be a fit for my consulting services. I get alerts on that, and it's like, oh my gosh, every day I'm getting a nice little alert, passion placement. And so I look forward to those messages. And besides that, is there a newsletter that you send out? Is there a blog? What are some other resources that you have available for people?
We have all of that. Our next issue of the newsletter is going to be out in a little less than 2 weeks. And just getting that really rolling. We do have a blog. We have some advocacy pages on our site as well.
Wonderful.
We put every Tuesday and Thursday, we put something out on the blog.
Yeah, the blog is going every week, and then we social media channels. We have a lot of information going out on those as well. We promote a number of the job positions through those social media channels as well.
Wonderful. Well, so, this is so exciting because, it's, as you know, it's my heart. The plant-based vegan industry is definitely my heart. And I'm just so thrilled that you are the leaders in the industry in the placement arena, where you're bringing the job seeker and the companies together, because that simply means that we're going to be able to more fully serve the marketplace, raise awareness, and be kind to those animals. I mean, absolutely. My goodness, it's like when you look at what's going on in the world right now, you can't help but believe that some of it has to do with the way people are consuming their food. And if we got rid of some of that, we might be a little more sane, but that's a whole different conversation. I could go off on a tangent with that one, but well, it's been delightful. Bonnie and Paul from Passion Placement. And again, go to passionplacement.com, check out their jobs, check out the companies. If you're a company and you want to post there, definitely reach out and get your company up and running on there, because you will find you're going to get a much better match than just going on Indeed or any of the other sites. Not that they're not good. They're very good, but they're too general. You want to have a niched approach to what you're doing. So, Bonnie and Paul, it's been delightful. In closing, what are your final thoughts for folks?
I just want them to reach out. If they are passionate about this like we are, we really would like to be a part of their story and matching them with the right company or the companies with the right people. And I think we can, build a tribe that's really going to make a difference to the world, to the animals.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
I would say, follow your heart is perhaps a bit cliche, but certainly true. Talent, for the most part, is overrated. Talent, for the most part, is, believe it or not, it's repetition. It's a great basketball player becomes a great basketball player because he threw the ball 60 million times at that hoop. Right. And if he's not good at it, something's wrong. So keep that in mind. Your talent can be somewhat subtle, but it's so important to find it and to build it, because it's who you are. And if you can put that if you can pull that up and put it into practice, there's no greater reward. And so I encourage you to follow your heart and follow your passion.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate both of you taking time out of your busy schedule to share your mission with people, and I wish you much, much success, and look forward to getting to know you even better. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. Go out, live healthy, and be kind to the animals.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.